briefly tell us today what some of your activities quite recently has been from your ministry?
Also, it's been a beehive of activities. We've had to work with NACIT, which is working very hard to extend social security coverage to the informal sector. You know, the current social security model only caters to the formal sector, about 9% of the population. So the vast majority there are uncovered by any form of organized social security or protection system, um, living in just a whisker away from vulnerability and all of that. So His Excellency President Bill is quite desirous of ensuring some form of social protection for those in the informal sector, be the market women, be the Okada riders, keke riders, you know, all of those people. So NACIT is being made it a flagship program. It's part of my own key performance indicators in my performance contract with His Excellency to ensure that this is rolled out. So various steps have been taken, very practical steps. For a program like this to commence, you have to, you know, have partnership with other organizations, experience in doing it. We've had support from the World Bank, the ILO, the UNDP, and such others to put together various teams, both technical and steering. We have had actuarial evaluation reports and all of those. So it's hoped that in the first quarter of next year, we'll begin to roll this out, you know, in the pilot phase.
How has the data collection been like, especially for people in the informal sector? Because oftentimes, or largely, they're missing in a lot of plans, or even when it comes to laws. For example, even the GUI Act is largely silent on even financial access and the likes for people in the informal sector, especially women.
No, the GUI Act has taken that on board in the regulations, yeah, which recently went through cabinet. But on this, I mean, the target is the informal sector. So they are at the heart and center of this. This is specifically targeting them. In fact, the reason why this is coming on mainstream is because this one, the current NACIT arrangement, does not take that into consideration. Yes, even though there's an opportunity for informal sector workers or self-employed people to join the scheme, but the benefits it covers, for example, when you are 60 years, you know, those are not the kind of things they want. Studies have shown their preferences for the kind of benefits they want. So that is the coverage is going to be designed, you know, to specifically cater to those needs.
And do you want to tell us what some of these preferences are?
You know, this would have been subject of another conversation, but in case you insist, they will prefer things like school fees payment, they will prefer things like medical aid, they will prefer things like funeral grants, you know, just the kind of things that the everyday Sierra Leonean wants addressed. You know, studies have uncovered all of that. You know, but at the launch, you know, the more competent professionals will talk about it, because I'll talk about it at very strategic level. You have the competency sit at NACIT, in various organizations, because there's a steering committee, which I co-chair with the Director General, and there's a technical committee where they do the real deep dive. You know, that committee is at work, and they have made tremendous progress.
Human trafficking as well has been a major problem in recent years, human trafficking.
Yeah, that's quite a major problem. We have quite a very restive youth population. His Excellency has always mentioned that the youth boom, you know, can be a double-edged sword, both a blessing and a curse. We want to make sure it's a blessing. Because of the challenges back here, many Sierra Leoneans think the grass is greener out there. So they take very perilous journeys, sometimes taking them across the Mediterranean, sometimes taking them across the Sahara Desert, and they go through very, very, very egregious challenges. You know, government is concerned. Because we are concerned, this is a people-centered government. We have been working with various development partners to ensure that the welfare needs of those Sierra Leoneans, even though they did not go through legitimate channels, are addressed. You spoke about those in Lebanon. We have quite a large Sierra Leonean population in Lebanon, most of them in the domestic work industry, but we cannot account for the numbers because they all went there not through designated private employment agencies. They went there on their own, again, in their desperate search to make ends meet, to see greener pastures. So we've been working with IOM and other development partners and arrangements are now afoot to ensure that the first set of 200 Sierra Leoneans from Lebanon are repatriated. And again, another very large set, close to 700, 1 million, efforts are being made to repatriate them in a safe and dignified manner from Niger, So some of these are transit countries, some of them are destination countries, and all of that.
In U.S. Embassy's 2023 Trafficking in Persons report, Sierra Leone is captured under Tier 2. I quote, the government convicted fewer traffickers and identified fewer victims. Victim services remained woefully inadequate, and the government did not provide financial support to civil society organizations to provide support and service. That was a direct quote from the 2023
I understand.
report.
I've read the report as well. I mean, we all live in this country. We don't come from Kukuland to here. We know there are challenges, even with the best of intentions, there are budgetary constraints. So it is the very development partners who point it out that should support us to address it. In the past, we've had a lot of support from the U.S. Government through the U.S. Embassy here and other development partners. But that is just to say we need more support to be able to address those. That actually rests with the Ministry of Social Welfare. But I'm aware that government is quite committed. We've enacted laws, we've done a few convictions, we should do more. You're talking about victim support services, yeah? So it means things like safe homes, it means things like reintegration support, it means, all of those things, right? Psychosocial support and all of those things. Once we get the necessary support, these things are being addressed, we could do a quantum leap with addressing them.
Is it possible to have safe homes, for example, for these victims or survivors, wherein we also live in a country where there's also competition to get maybe safe homes for victims who are suffering or survivors from sexual and gender-based violence, or have homeless people, and the list goes on?
Yes, if you have the resources, I mean, all the bottom line is resources. You have resources, you should be able to do all of that. I mean, governments are about that, but we all live here, we understand the challenges. Even with the best of intentions, that can be difficult to fully address, but steps are being taken in various, situations to address them as and when they occur.
Do you think resource is a problem for you in your job?
In my job? For everybody else, it's a problem. It's a problem for His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio. If he had a magic wand to wand, he would have solved all of our problems. We would not be having the 5 big game changers. We will solve all of them. But let us not also forget, this country gained independence in 1961, and we have had these challenges since then. So we are trying to solve all of these challenges. That is why you see us as modernizers in a hurry, but the challenges remain. Resources, even where you work, I'm sure, it's a huge challenge. I don't know where they don't have resource challenges. Even in the US now, they're talking about that,
And as we talk about, we've talked about kidnapping and the likes and all this illegal migration. Let's also talk about the cultural sensitiveness and equal respect that comes with that. In Sierra Leone, we're always known to be people who are, we're friendly, we're tolerant, we're open. Our laws actually do favor not just Sierra Leoneans, but even those coming in. From your ministry as well, how has it been in advocating maybe for some of these people who go out and, take the risk to go seek greener pastures out there? How do we ensure there's reciprocity and as well equal respect for Sierra Leoneans as they step out? So
first, I've said we have laws to regulate labor migration. Yeah? The Labor Migration Act 2023 was enacted, right? So we have been reaching out on the public with this. We need to scale up, public awareness around those laws. And that is why we'll soon start the Labor and Employment Hour, right? It will be on various media platforms. So people get to know the opportunities, the challenges, and how they can go about safely and legally migrating to other countries for the purposes of work, right? So yes, we have about 23 registered private recruitment agencies who encourage all Sierra Leoneans who are desirous of seeking opportunities to go to those places, go work with those agencies. I mean, they will not dupe you, they will not fleece you, they will not pull wool over your eyes. And besides, government always has a lien on them. You know, I've had very horrendous stories of people selling all their family wares, selling family property and all of those to travel abroad, and they only end up being duped. You know, so we use it. I'm using this opportunity to encourage all Sierra Leoneans: don't transact with backyard recruitment agencies. Don't transact with faceless people who promise you the heaven and deliver you, you know, hell. You know. So yes, I mean, when I was recently at Sierra Leone is a champion country for global compacts on legal migration. We have the laws in place, and I've been amplifying the efforts we are making at the local level to ensure safe, legal, and dignified migration. And they just concluded Global Compact on Migration, which was held in Addis. Sierra Leone was showcased. I co-chaired the deliberation, the whole 3-day deliberation with my counterpart from Zimbabwe. By 2026, we'll be presenting this report, you know, to the UN General Assembly. So it's very important. We spoke about the strides. I even raised the issue of Sierra Leoneans, migrant workers in Lebanon, and the need for the world to support us, you know, repatriate them. So this is bearing fruit, right? A whole lot of other things are being done. We have in support to review the labor migration policy, which was enacted about 5 years ago. So that is now being reviewed. We're doing the validation session soon with support from development partners. We're doing a lot of things together on that front. Yeah?
So, Minister, let's talk about minimum wage for a bit. You know, the 2024 Global Hunger Index ranks Sierra Leone 117th out of 127, you know, making us one of the hungriest countries in the world, according to the statistics, with 12.8% of our population being undernourished. I did some maths, and 12.8% of 8.6 million people is about 1,100,800 people that are supposedly undernourished in this country. But the reality is that the minimum wage, you know, cannot even buy a bag of rice these days.
Okay, so let's keep within the parameters of your quotes first. What that tells me is something that is already public knowledge. It is for that same reason that His Excellency has launched a flagship project called Feed Salon, right? We are mechanizing farming. We are making irrigation at the heart and center of this, right? We are making farming sexy. You know, that is why he's himself into farming.
Sexy in what way?
Well, I mean, before now, you see rickety older men and women carrying loads on their head. You know, you don't want to be a farmer if you grow up. But that is why you have the president now in his own farm harvesting his paddy rice and all of those things, you know. So now, you know, at the highest levels, you know, I understand the vice president is also a cattle rearer, you know. So all of these things, many government ministers, public servants are into farming. That is making it the in thing. That's making it more attractive. It's making it dignified. So it's no longer the poverty-related hand-to-mouth thing you talk about. One of my colleagues, a cabinet minister, Oman Bangura, is a fish farmer, one of the largest, probably after His Excellency President Julius Maadabu, right? So we have increased the amount of arable land under cultivation and a lot more. But there is always a difference between policy implementation and there is a policy lag. Following implementation, it takes a little time for you to begin to see the palpable benefits. So yes, Feed Salon will address that. Now talking about minimum wage, we know for a fact and we realize that these are challenging times. These are difficult times for every Sierra Leonean, yeah, particularly those in the lower income bracket. Yeah. So His Excellency is particularly concerned that the current minimum wage cannot afford people even a bag of rice. You know. So today, and you're asking the question at the right time, my ministry has convened the Joint National Negotiating Board, the JNNB, as per the law, right? We are convening today to talk about the minimum wage.
Today?
Today,
okay.
Right? We think we have to do something about it. As it is now, it's a killer wage.
Indeed.
His Excellency's vision is everybody should be able to look after themselves and their families. This meeting might not produce that, but it's definitely not going to leave Sierra Leonean workers worse off.
So what's going to be on the table?
Review of the minimum wage.
So how
It's a
much?
single agenda item.
So how much are you proposing?
Well, I'll be here next time after the outcome of the meeting. Because this is a tripartite arrangement.
Okay.
We're having government, we're having Labour Congress, we're having Employers Federation. So we'll be chairing that, and I don't want to preempt. You know, that would be very disrespectful for the tripartite partners.
Okay.
We have to sit and talk, we agree. They will all jointly issue a statement.
Okay.
Also, there's the labor market information system, which would actually is aimed at job matching. How far has that gone?
Well, it's really more than that. The labor market information system should be able to tell you everything about the labor market. For example, how many people are unemployed. Unemployment is defined as people who are actively busy looking for a job. If you left university, for example, you are not looking for a job or something, you are not captured. You should be actively looking for a job, right? Yes, so you are captured. How do we know it? On that platform, you apply for a job, you set up your profile, we know, okay, Mr. Swaray is looking for a job. That is captured. When there are opportunities, we encourage employers to advertise their jobs on that site, right? We are able to track the status of the applications. If somebody gets a job, we'll track it, we'll subtract you from those actively looking for a job. On the same platform, we should be able to see how many complaints have come in. For example, relating to anything from workplace accident to minimum wage to clamping down on labor unions, anything and everything. You know, there's some provision. You can capture that there, right? So it's a platform that should be. So the thing you particularly ask for, if employers post the jobs there, right? You have already posted your profile there. That's an opportunity to match you with those potential employers, yeah. But it's not firmly up and running yet. It's in advanced stages. We're using it. It's actually launched, but there are still a few things we need to do around it.
How
we
long
want to
will
be
it
able
take
to
to
have
come
those
into
statistics.
force?
We want to know, for example, how many matters, how many labor disputes are in court for adjudication. You know, all of those things. Because it is this data, these statistics, you know, that makes a country different from, you know, a collapsed state.
When will it come into force? Any timelines?
Well, already it's in force, but it's not fully populated yet. It's going to take time to capture, you know, old data and all of these things, you know, because you would also require it for comparative analysis, right? So,
now, for these job seekers, is it people who just come straight from school, or they have other requirements or qualifications they should meet?
I wouldn't know that. That's for the employers. When you advertise your job, for example, to do what you are doing at AOIB, they may say you must have gone to mass communications, you must have had a year or two of experience, or they want interns. I wouldn't determine the specifications of who and who they would require, right? That's for the employers.
And are they just employers within Sierra Leone?
No. Well, so you also have, you know, it's a good question you asked. We spoke about labor migration. So on that platform, you also have issues around labor migration. You can capture the data there, how many have been sent abroad, by which company, which countries, you know, all of those. How many have been returned because they could not cope with the standards, all of those. So it's a very comprehensive, you know, codified platform where you can get anything and virtually everything that you want about labor and all that. You know, but you know the country has an issue with data, so we're populating it now. It might take a little longer than we envisage, but definitely when we are done with it, it will be the go-to platform on all things labor in Sierra Leone.
Are these overseas workers safe in any way?
Say?
Are they safe, these overseas workers, the ones that are being recruited by these agencies?
Okay, so I understand one of the recruitment agencies will be talking to you today. Yeah. Yes, because what we do is government has entered bilateral labor agreements with some countries, including Qatar, including Saudi Arabia, and we're trying to do some more with other countries. So, I mean, in these bilateral labor agreements, I mean, we clearly bring in our diplomatic missions abroad because we have diplomatic missions there. So it's different from the kafala system, where you are literally bought and sold. When you go there through our embassies, You know, nobody takes your passport away from you. You have annual leave. You enjoy the benefits of decent work. You know, 8 hours or 9 hours, as the case may be. You have your weekends, and you live in decent working environments, right? So yes, we ensure that they are well looked after. But that's for those who go through the straight and narrow path, the legal migration pathways that we have established through the 23 or 24 private employment agencies. Because with them, if they veer off this, we find them to doing, we find them doing the wrong things. We will withdraw their licenses, and they will no longer operate as private recruitment agencies. So that is why we encourage every Sierra Leonean, right, desirous of migrating their labor abroad, to use these recruitment agencies rather than going through the backyard, rather than, you know, falling for gimmicks from snake oil salesmen, which is normally the case.
So, Minister, we'll pause the discussion for a while and allow our viewers on Facebook to have some say in the program. The first comment I'll read is from Abubakar Rashid. His Excellency, what are you really doing? It seems all what you're doing is done by His Excellency.
And Mr. Razak says, Mr. Minister, I appreciate your move in doing the on-the-spot visit to factories in Sierra Leone to know the working conditions of workers. Your ministry should continue because some factories are still flouting the labor laws of Sierra Leone.
Mr. from Dozak is saying, trafficking is alarming globally. As a nation, we should be mindful of people who are doing overseas employment. Some have genuine intentions, while some are focused on trafficking for their personal gains.
Swissman says, Minister Swaray, what do you think your government will do to encourage its citizens so that they will stay in the country rather than going to suffer in another country? And some even lose their lives brutally by some Arab citizens. And I also understand that some of these migration programs are being controlled by some government officials. Is it true that government officials are involved in human trafficking, or they have the program to send people abroad as a form of help?
Jibril Dumbuya is saying, you cannot blame people for leaving the country to find a better life somewhere. Our politicians do not care for their people. They took the country money for themselves.
Must the ratio of job availability to the people actively and seeking employment is quite high. This government has been in office for over 6 years and continuing with all the promises of job creation, the challenges still remain the same or in some cases worse. What guarantees can you give to the people in finally realizing their dreams of being financially independent?
I think that will be all for you as well.
Yes,
Mr.
exactly.
Minister, if you would care to respond.
Number one, I say His Excellency. You know, to be able to achieve, I'm a politician. I enjoy the trust and pleasure of His Excellency. I serve at his pleasure. If I don't get the political support I need from him, I will not deliver any success. So it's in reference to that principally, all right? I'm his principal advisor on labor, all things labor, social security and all of those things, right? So when you advise, it takes the will of the personal to accept that. So that it's in that context, not because I'm bereft of ideas. Anybody who knows me knows that I treat this job very serious. Any other job you assign me to. Somebody is asking about why Sierra Leoneans go abroad for work. Well, labor migration is as old as the start of times, right? Everybody goes, many people from every country, you know, travel abroad for labor migration purposes. So it's not just peculiar to Sierra Leone. You have Sierra Leoneans who are in very high paying jobs, very dignified jobs, called UN, they work for UN agencies. This is still labor migration. You know, you have Americans working here, everybody. So labor migration is just a normality. We are talking about the nature of migration our people undergo because all the guardrails are removed the way they travel abroad for work. right? They do not go to legal migration pathways. They do not enjoy the protection. Their rights are abused willy-nilly, and all of them do not enjoy the benefits of decent work. In many instances, they are abused. That is why it's a concern. Why are we not talking about those ones in upper echelons who have also migrated for purposes of labor, to sell their labor? So we can do more as government. We want to continue to create the enabling environment so that our people can stay here and contribute directly to our economy. That is why Feed Salon has been launched. Sierra Leone boasts a huge suite of arable land. Young people are now being encouraged to pick up jobs in agriculture or along the value chain, various, value chains in agriculture. Yeah? So many are taking advantage of that. Many are taking advantage of labor migration. Many are taking advantage of opportunities in the tourism industry, travel and tourism industry, and a lot more. There are opportunities out here. Let us all seek them. Do we have enough? No, not at the moment, particularly the opportunities that appear attractive to our young people, But I'm sure government remains very committed to creating this. I listened to the Freetown Mayor during the interagency forum about a couple of months ago in Kenya. And this was re-echoed yesterday. Freetown City Council alone, according to Madam Yvonne Akisoya, aims to create 125,000 jobs, from now to 2028, mostly in tree planting, in city cleaning, various other aspects. So this is very doable. We have laid out a very ambitious program to create 500,000 jobs for the next 5 years. And those who are familiar and conversant with the medium-term national development plan and indeed the New Direction Manifesto, consolidating gains and accelerating development, would see that we have categorized, we will create 500,000 jobs, including these 500,000 jobs will include short-term jobs, medium and long-term jobs. This is what many people have not read. And I'll encourage you, anchors, every other Sierra Leonean listening to me to follow that.
So, Minister, we are about to leave you now. But if you were to be helped, just as a final comment, in a way, what would you need immediately?
What do I need? I will need capacity, and the good news is I've had approval to recruit up to 100 and something people in the next 1-2 weeks. Adverts will be out. We are very, very thin on ground. We are very short-staffed. You talk about issues around trafficking, illegal migration. We should be able to have a presence, boots on the ground, in virtually all entry and exit points. We do not have that at the moment. You want to be able to monitor work permits and others, you need people on ground. So all of that will partially solve that. And of course, after that, you give us the necessary logistics. You require vehicles, you require motorbikes to go to hard-to-reach areas and all of those things. Once you have that, we should be able to mount big, we should be able to mount campaigns in those communities and warn them against the dangers of illegal labor migration, warn them against other issues, and even sensitize employees, together with unions, together with Employers Federation, together with Labor Congress, on their rights and responsibilities as employees, and also employers about the rights of their employees. So there are a million and more things we could do. Just like I wish we had enough time. It's been long, I haven't been here. Indeed. And I wanted to drill deep into what I've been doing, why I've been missing action and all of those things. Yeah.
Right, thank you very much indeed. Rahman Swaray, he's the Minister of Labour and Employment.